and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey, and today I will be reading the next chapter of my book, Taste. Taste is book 1 of the Tearaway series. That is 9 books long. I've got my snuggle buddy here, just out of view, but if you hear a little, snorfling sound, that is her being read to and getting very cozy. I hope you also feel very cozy today. Without further ado, we're going to jump into chapter 28. Okay, baby. Sharing my haven. Blue was supposed to be a calming color. That's what I'd read anyway. My bedroom had 2 dusky blue walls and 2 eggshell-colored walls. My white comforter with blue stitching matched my sheets and pillowcases perfectly. My queen-size bed hadn't been disturbed, nor had the white carpet or the closet, which was still shut tight. My blue and taupe curtains were hanging as they should, and my lamp had not been bothered. The few items on my nightstand were each in their proper right angle, like beautiful little soldiers that never spun out of control. In my perfect bedroom, everything was as it should be, and that simple fact lowered my blood pressure a noticeable amount. Ollie's mantra of "life is messy and that's okay" only worked because I had this unmessed utopia to come home to. When I heard Vaughn emerge from the bathroom 5 minutes later, I grabbed my purple pajama pants, matching shirt, and green hoodie, a new towel, and everything I needed to scrub this horrible weekend from my skin so I could start fresh in the morning. Though I'd showered at Ezra's, I felt like I needed a second scrub down. Mason had been right outside the bedroom, giving me a narrow-eyed glower that I'd shut him out. I shrugged an apology to him. "You can't go into the bedroom until you wipe your paws off. I'm serious. My bedroom is my sanctuary." Mason obeyed, moving to the mat at the front door. Before going into the bedroom, I prayed he wouldn't shed all over. I passed Vaughn in the hallway, whose shirtless form drew my eyes, despite my wariness of all things in this bizarre universe. Upon shutting myself in the taupe and pea-green bathroom, my anxiety began to climb once again. Vaughn had thrown his used towel on the floor. There were a few black hairs in the sink, too many water drops on the counter to number, and a toothpaste gob still in the sink he hadn't bothered to wash all the way down. I set to work cleaning my bathroom before I cleaned myself. I didn't always have to do it this way, but then I didn't usually have 3 strangers crashing at my place while my brother was in town. My hands and wrists stung when I finally stepped into the shower and began washing them. Now that Danny wasn't there to watch my every move, I scratched the back of my hands to my heart's content, relishing the small release it gave me. Every inch of my body needed to be scrubbed thoroughly, and by the time I'd washed myself the usual 3 times, I'd run out of hot water and was shivering under the spray. The backs of my hands were bloody, but I didn't care. I rinsed them in the sink when I got out of the shower, and then pulled out my first aid kit and dabbed at the wounds. I wrapped my wrists again, knowing I looked like a suicide survivor. I was glad I had chosen long sleeves to sleep in that night. When I emerged from the bathroom, I heard shouts of male camaraderie coming from the living room down the hall. Vaughn and Ollie were in the middle of a game of poker, and Ollie was winning like a brat. "Oh, these chips look good stacked next to my untouched ones over here." Vaughn grinned, leaning back on the couch and messing up my pillows. "Keep laughing, college boy. I'll trounce you on the next hand." I hid my hands in the pockets of my purple flannel pajama pants. I saw Danny surreptitiously checking the locks on the windows, and understood that Vaughn was the distraction, while Danny tightened up any loose ends to secure my house. I grimaced when I realized I'd taken too long a shower. "Sorry, Danny, I used up the last of the hot water. Totally thoughtless of me. You might want to wait a little bit before washing up." "I don't mind." He picked up his duffel and walked toward the bathroom, stopping at my side on the way to whisper to me, "After Ollie turns in, I'll take the couch, and Vaughn will sneak into your room. Mason's already there. Lock the door, and I'll see you all in the morning." "There's no way out of this?" I asked forlornly. It was my last desperate attempt to get him to tell me this was all some horrible practical joke. Danny paused, but did not soften. I'm not sure he was capable. Not even a little. If there was, I would have gotten Mary Ann out long ago. I nodded, not looking forward to sharing my unmessed haven with the strangers. I moved to the linen closet, pulling out several blankets and spare pillows for the guys. There was a slight draft in the living room, so I left the warmest blanket on the arm of the couch with a pillow for Danny. I kissed Ollie on the top of his hair before turning in with a blanket to be laid on the floor for Vaughn and Mason to share. Good night, Ollie. I'm glad you're back. Me too. I got a few things to take care of in the morning. People to see tomorrow during the day. Can we have a movie night tomorrow? Are you working late? I'll be home tomorrow night. See you and Bruce Campbell then. Looking forward to it, kiddo. Ollie sat straighter and pulled out an envelope from his pocket. Oh, I brought in the mail for you today. Judge sends his love. Must have hand-delivered it since there wasn't a stamp on it. My spine straightened with new purpose. Give me that nonsense. I snatched the letter from his hand and ripped it open. My eyebrows furrowed as I quickly read the contents, my frown pronouncing itself as I skimmed the end. I swear, I have never had anyone make such a fuss over something so small. It's not small. You saved T's life. Judge and Darius McCrae can't look after their brother while he's in prison. You being there gives them peace of mind. That's not why I did it, and it's been months. It shouldn't be this big a deal. I held up the letter as proof. Now he wants to give me his boat for a weekend? What am I possibly going to do with a boat? Ollie shrugged. You know, this would all be over if he would just accept one of his gifts and forgive him. It's been 15 years, October. This beef you have with him is long moldy. I scoffed. Judge disrespected you, Ollie, and he abandoned me. I've got another 15 years worth of anger stored up for what he did to us. The time for ridiculous gifts was back then. I don't need a thing from him. I drew my thumb across my throat to show where my loyalties lay. Plus, all of his gifts are either stolen or come from drug money. It would look bad if I'm seen taking favors from his little empire. Maybe it was little when Judge started this years ago, but it's not so little now. Take the weekend with the boat. I've gotten over it all. You should too. Hello? You know I can't even swim. Plus, then Judge wins. Then he thinks I'm for sale, that I can be bought off with toys, which is not the case. Vaughn watched our exchange curiously. Who's this now? Ollie answered as I moved into the kitchen. I discreetly popped a small white pill in my mouth to cover over the one I'd missed, and got out a metal bowl. I placed the letter inside and put a lighter to it, watching the offer burn. Then I got out a pen and paper and wrote Judge my billionth no thank you note. Dear Judge, thank you for the offer to take your boat out. As I've told you before, the restrictions of my job are clear that I cannot accept gifts from family members of inmates. Please stop sending me stuff. Nice of you, but I only did my job. I'm not supposed to let inmates get hurt on my watch. I would have intervened even if it hadn't been Terrence. You had your chance to help Ollie, Allie, and me years ago, and you turned your back on us. I don't want your gifts now. I'd rather drown than take a ride on your stupid boat. Also, tell Darius that his older brother is too stubborn for his own good, and he should stay away from you. Enclosed, you'll find the ashes of your offer. You can sprinkle them with the others I've sent back. Make yourself a little collection. October. I waited for the ashes to cool and then swept them into a Ziploc bag, which was sealed, and then folded into the envelope. Vaughn was chuckling when I came out to place the stamped envelope in our mailbox. That's brilliant. He really offered to buy you a car? I glowered at Ollie for telling Vaughn that little tidbit. I was already buying a car for myself when he offered. I don't need a drug lord with a selective conscience to do me any favors. I bid the boys goodnight and then disappeared into my bedroom. I straightened out one of the spare blankets on a spot on the white carpet near my dresser. But really, the guys had their pick of the floor. I had zero clutter and nothing taking up space other than my bed, a cherry wood nightstand, and a matching dresser. And a giant gray wolf. I jumped when he came out from the other side of the bed, startling me. Mason stared up at me from the center of the room expectantly. I shoved my hands into my flannel pockets, feeling totally unbalanced with a wolf in my room who was actually a man. I kept my eyes on my feet as I struggled to figure out how to make this awful day seem kosher. Do you need anything before I turn in? I whispered. Mason could sense my discomfort and took pity on me. He moved to my side and nudged my leg toward the bed. I smiled. Okay. Let me know if you need another blanket for the floor. Sometimes it gets drafty. I laid down in the center of the bed, but then hissed when he hopped up next to me. Get down! Down, boy! I clicked my fingers as if he were a real dog before I remembered myself. You can't sleep in bed with me. You and Vaughn can share the floor. Mason lowered his snout and let out a low growl that started in his throat and filtered out through closed teeth. Don't you try that nonsense on me. This is my house, my bed. I'm the only one who gets to be intimidating in here. You get to be the obedient puppy everyone loves. That is your only job. Mason's answer was to flop down on the mattress and rest his head on the pillow next to mine. Then he closed his eyes, feigning sleep. You are such a lousy faker. I know you're awake, and I know you can hear me. I leaned closer to glare at him, but he surprised me by licking my cheek. I squealed and giggled despite myself, wiping off the slobber on the comforter I knew I'd have to wash in the morning. Oh, fine. You can stay this once. I reached over and stroked his fur, then recalled that beneath the wolf was an actual person. I'm sorry, am I allowed to do that? Mason responded by leaning into the touch, inching his nose closer to mine. I buried my fingers in his soft, luxurious, gray fur and watched his tension dissipate as his eyes closed again. Since there weren't any other humans in the room to hear my confession, I whispered into the dark. I killed someone. That Tonga woman? I've never killed anyone before, but I murdered her. Like actual murder. Mason licked my chin in understanding. He'd killed her too, though something told me murdering wasn't all that earth-shattering for him, Viking as he was. I don't know what to do with that. It feels... I killed someone. I admitted again, ashamed at the person I now was. Maybe I could have gotten off on it being self-defense since Tonga attacked me and then tried to abduct me, but it wouldn't change the fact that someone had died, and I'd been the guilty one with a shiv this time. Mason let out a sympathetic whine, resting his maw against my face to snuggle me, to pet me in his own way to return the favor. I wasn't sure what to make of human Mason, but wolf Mason totally got me. You've had a rough day too, huh? My heart melted a little when Mason moved his body closer to mine in answer. You didn't mean to link up with me. Do you have family you're leaving behind to do this whole reaping thing? Mason shook his head and leaned into my touch as I scratched under his chin, craving the closeness of contact behind the closed doors. Well, whatever life you're leaving behind to do this thing, I'm sorry you had to give it up. It's not fair to you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Mason rolled onto his side and pushed his back into my stomach. I'd also wanted a puppy, but Ollie and Allie had said no. Then when I lived in the house by myself, I knew I wouldn't be home enough to make it fair for the puppy. But I wanted one. Oh, how I wanted the eyes that always loved me, and the tail that never stopped wagging when he saw me. For this one night, I got my wish. Despite the craziness of the last 2 days, a smile played across my lips at the gift I'd been granted. I wrapped my arm around my new dog and scratched his tummy, spooning the puppy and burying my face in his fur. I didn't care about the germs. I was content in the cuddle. Could you do me a favor? Could you make sure Vaughn doesn't eat me in my sleep? I tried to pass it all off as a blasé joke, but Mason sensed my unease. He licked my cheek in answer. I pulled up my white comforter over us and snuggled into the warmth. Good night, Mason. Sweet dreams. It took longer than I would have liked, but eventually I fell asleep, knowing the morning would bring more questions and fewer things I wanted to be part of. We read chapter 28 together. I'm so proud of us. I hope that you're enjoying your reading adventures lately. I am. In 2024, I kept track of all the books that I read, and between audiobooks, ebooks, and paperback and hardback books, I read 100 books. My goal was 50, and I just barely, on New Year's Eve, finished my 100th. I was very proud of myself. I don't know what kind of reading goals you have, if you have any. You don't have to. But if you do, I'm happy to be part of them. Let me read to you and spend every Tuesday with me, because every Tuesday for the foreseeable future, I will have a new chapter ready for you. I'll see you next Tuesday on Tuesdays with Tuesday.